Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to more Wargame Red Dragon Ranked. Today this 1v1 is going to turn really interesting. I'm playing as South Africa Motorized yet again. It is not necessarily the best deck for Ranked, but I'm having the most fun with it, which makes it worth it for me. Now my plan this time around is to go for Foxtrot. I believe that with my motorized vehicles I'm going to be there fast, which will allow me to take the terrain quickly, and then loop my forces back in order to use them somewhere else. That's the strength of South Africa. Strike quickly, get somewhere, take it. If you can hold it, lovely. If not, back the hell out. Because South Africa's staying power is limited. Now, in the middle, a bit of defense, and on the right hand side with the Alpha checking out what comes in. It's a Puma, and it's a lot of British armored vehicles. This is going to be a problem for South Africa, because South Africa generally doesn't have that great pen, and aside from that, it is extremely fragile. Everything, well, not everything that I have here, but most of the things that I have here can get penned and or destroyed by something like a machine gun. Now, of course, this column isn't operating alone. It's not just APCs and IFVs, it is also tanks. Tanks and NTR. So, let's see if I can get a momentary distraction with the recoilless rifle jeeps and try and get my forces into position. I'm going to have to get the Roycat 105s back, because at this range they're never going to be able to take down a Challenger, but they're still easy pickings for the Challenger, so pulling back as quickly as I can. One thing I have over the British is speed. I can get to the buildings faster than they can, so the initial offensive has been at least delayed, if not disabled. And now my Milans can go for the Challengers, and there's no shortage of those. What I'm hoping for here is that he's going to go for the Roycat, so he's going to push forward with his Challengers, but he's not doing that. And that means that with a couple of quick salvos, my Milans are dead. I need to flank these tanks somehow. The Buccaneer is going to have to try and take out a tank, and at the same time dodge the NTR, which is a Challenger marksman, so it's not something that's going to go down particularly easily. Hopefully, it's disabled. Hopefully, it's turned offline, but I'm not sure about that. Now, these Challengers are really tough. I was able to badly damage one of them, but not enough. And now the marksman opens up, and a Eurofighter Typhoon shows up, so that's the end of my Buccaneer. Call in a Cheetah D, or at least I have one standing by. And in hindsight, the Cheetah D, not really a great option, because I know it's a Challenger marksman at this point. And a Challenger marksman, come on, you're going to have to hit it with a lot of weaponry in order to get it killed. Just an HE weapon from the Cheetah D is definitely not going to do it. Roycats now coming under missile fire, so really quite urgent to pull them back. I don't really mind losing the Ferret Mark IIs. So if I can sacrifice those and wipe out some Fusiliers while they're pushing up, then I'm all for that. Try to get the Roycats back as quickly as possible and potentially get another Buccaneer. Or we're going to have to go and cluster bomb these things. But even against cluster bombs, those Challengers are really tough. So, this is not looking good. I do have a pair of Pathfinders, but they're out of position. If they'd been inside the buildings, they'd have probably cleaned the Fusiliers really quickly. Problem is, the Challengers are, at this point, fairly unstoppable. I'm going to have a really hard time keeping those things out. And with a pair of Pathfinders, I'd just be easy pickings. So I'm trying to get at least some damage in on the Fusiliers. I'm trying to pull back whatever I have left. The NTR has been turned off and now comes back online as the Cheetah D makes its escape. So what's next? Mirage F1AZ. Cluster bomb it. Let's try and cluster bomb the NTR. Because that might open up the road to deal more damage with the Cheetah D against infantry, and potentially more damage with my cluster bomber later. The other side of the map, as you can see here, I had some forces, but both myself and my opponent completely forgot about them. Nobody was really doing much of anything. The Challengers, in the meanwhile, on the right-hand side, keep pushing, wiping out the Fusiliers. I do check my cluster bomb damage, but no kill. We're going to need to do more. So, another Mirage comes in, and I'm playing a really dangerous and quite badly orchestrated game here, because I have a couple of aircraft, yet I do not have air superiority. What I do have is a cactus, and it shoots down the Eurofighter Tycoon. Sorry, the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, I think, I killed some tanks, or at least they might be out of position. Let's see if I can take down that Challenger Marksman. But even with the Roycats and the range that I have, those Challenger Marksmen still have missile fire to back them up. Or sorry, still has missile fire. And I need to get really quite close in order to get a kill on that. So the first thing to do is take out the Recon Roycat. And now I'm pretty much in trouble. Rattle 20 Milan moving forward, Trackers moving forward, SASF to the other building. Let's see if I cannot make anything happen here on Fox. Maybe I can do it on Bravo. So, trying to use South Africa's speed to go somewhere else. Interestingly, there isn't that much at that side. And considering the initial force over on Foxtrot, that armored column, I mean, that was 3 Challengers with a Challenger Marksman and a bunch of infantry, so there's easily about 500-600 points there. That means he does not have a lot on the other side. I might be able to exploit that. Now Foxtrot, everything I had there has either been pulled back or dead, so I need to get more forces in there if I want to hold it. And I decide to use South Africa's speed here again to try and get a little bit of damage in on the Fusiliers, and at the same time have my opponent make a decision. Does he really want to get Foxtrot? Or is he now going to reroute all of his challengers and go the other way? At this point, sadly, I cannot tell because I don't have any recon left. What I do have is a bunch of ferrets and trackers plus Rattle 20 and Casper K-Car dealing with Fusiliers. The Ferret Mark II 106 is coming to the left as well as quickly as possible. And pulling back some of my assets over next to Foxtrot. Let's get another recon bird. I know that Challenger Marksman is out there somewhere, I just don't exactly know where. And there are more Fusiliers. Shouldn't be that much of an issue for the Parabat. Nevertheless, let's send the Cheetah D in and have them deal some damage. There comes the Cheetah D, that's the infantry wiped out, but I suspect that the enemy is using a full British deck, and that likely means a lot of infantry, a lot of Fusiliers. Finally, I get a +2 as I capture Delta. Now, what's next? I'm not really sure. I'm considering going for a Rhino, I'm considering going for mortars. At least I know that my chances of getting back in here are slim to none. Because this is likely when the rest of that armored group is going to start moving on the town in Foxtrot. So Bravo is my better opportunity here. Sending in a recon bird, and what's really quite clever here is that Newt, my enemy here, is fighting back using the Lynx with the autocannons. The Lynx 20 mil. Those are quite dangerous. And I realized that I don't have a lot of time to try and get NTR into position, so the only unit I can move forward with NTR is the SASF 90. Even though they effectively only have 2 missiles left. Roycats 105 over there, trying to provide overwatch / do something useful. Cheetah D comes in, but doesn't find a target. There's a bunch of Warrior Milans. It's not really a valuable target. And I keep switching targets so many times that I end up doing a gun run. Yes, a gun run against a Challenger, which is, of course, really laughing its ass off, going, what the fuck are you doing? And he'd be right. He'd be absolutely right. Now, the more that I was playing this match, the more I was thinking, is this potentially a British mechanized deck? Is this one of those decks that is slowly going to grind you to death? And if that is so, then South Africa's speed could be the answer to my problems. If it is not, I can still face a lot of quick units. And I might find that they don't have as much infantry as I do with a motorized deck, but at least that won't be as quick. I think there are... I'm not even sure if there are any decks that are as quick as South Africa, seeing as their wheeled vehicles are faster than anything the other decks have. So I'd say yes, Eurocorps has the potential to be just about as quick, but their vehicles off-road aren't as fast. Now, one ferret trying to kill the anti-air. It's not very well thought out, but if it gets the shot off, it can get the damage in. Whereas the Challenger cannot. So, I get the shot, And I do some damage, but I'm gonna need to do that again. And of course I don't get a lot of time to do that. Ferret 106 is now supporting the surviving trackers. The Rattle has been destroyed by the helicopter, and there's a bunch of green jackets in there, so good luck getting those guys dislodged. The Ferret in the middle there dies. There's a bunch of a bunch of Warrior Milans over there. And with my 1 Milan 2 and my 1 trackers, there's pretty much nothing I can do about that. Especially more problematic so as there are more British tanks showing up. Chieftains have started to join the party. Rattle 20 trying to deal with the recon infantry over there, but there's not that much that I can do. Meanwhile, I just keep throwing planes at the problem because South Africa's other anti-tank options are really quite limited. I did get his anti-air, so this bombing run on the tanks went off without a hitch. That's interesting information. I can use that. So if I can get a bit more control over the skies, I might be able to keep up a fairly aggressive bombing campaign. And with that, have an answer, not a perfect answer, but an answer to these challengers. These challengers and chieftains, by the way, which just keep moving in. Now, I'm really surprised that I'm still able to get into Foxtrot, because arguably I shouldn't be able to. I don't really have any right to be there, considering the amount of units that he has, or that I suspect that he has. And of course, challengers, again, not particularly impressed with my capability of dealing damage with a Milan 1. I do get some damage in the Chieftain Marksman, I think. I get another almost kill on the Challenger there. But almost kills don't count. They need to be complete kills, or these things are going to come back repaired. And potentially with more experience. So, back to the other end then. Let's see if I can continue to make progress there. Using South Africa's speed to get more infantry into position, more Roycat 105s, and I don't have any anti-air. Considering the enemy's use of these helicopters, oh, this was brilliant. Considering the use of the enemy's helicopters, I need to have some form of anti-air, or I'm going to be really quite dead quite soon. Because even a 20mm gun can deal a lot of damage against South Africa. In the middle, there's all sorts of infantry on infantry fighting. It's not terribly deadly. It's also not going to be terribly long, because I keep getting hit with increasing numbers of warrior Milans. Those things are getting quite annoying, and as you can see, green jackets moving on the town in Foxtrot. Tornado GR1 comes in, I realize it far too late, and I lose 3 Roycat 105s. That's 150 points right there, just gone. That's a problem. At this point, I give up on this side. I give up on Foxtrot. I might be able to more or less drag out the conflict, but my chances of actually getting the zone completely are really limited. Not with the anti-tank options that I have available. And in case you're wondering, in this deck I do not have access to the Bokop. Well, I have access to them, I just don't have them in there. Because I don't really like the Bokop. Sorry, not the Bokop, the Buffaloes. They just miss way, way, way too often for me. What I would have loved in this particular encounter is the Roycat ZA35. That's the anti-air Roycat, and that would have been a perfect weapon against the constant onslaught that you're about to see of helicopters. That I simply don't really have an answer to. You might argue, yes, but the Cactus SAHV is a great answer. Yes, for 4 shots, and that's when it stops. Because after 4 shots, that thing is empty. And after 4 shots, there might still be more helicopters. Whereas the Roycat ZA35 would definitely not struggle with that as much. So, let's see what I can do against the town. Cheetah D flies in, gets another infantry unit killed, and now there's even more anti-air coming in. Tracked Rapier FSA, not radar guided. Potentially not even active yet. So, I'm considering sending in a airstrike there. Sending in a bomber to try and deal with it. Cactus SAHV moving into position, Bokop moving into position, and with the other vehicles, over on the top left side of the screen, I'm just bypassing that position in Bravo. I'm just going, let's see how deep we can get into his area. I doubt that I'll be able to make a lot of progress, but if I can get to his spawn, I might be able to end the game pretty quick. So, yeah, let's chance it. And that's when the thing goes sideways. Because one Lynx 20mm is starting to deal quite a bit of damage against my Ferret and my Rattle. kills off a Rattle, and the ferrets can only run. They cannot deal damage, they cannot shoot upwards at a helicopter. The Cactus is moving forward, but is not in a good position. It cannot help the Rattle, which is in a fight with the Lynx. Over here, we still have Bokop in contact with Green Jackets, and there is still another unit of infantry, so probably Fusiliers. There's all sorts of infantry rampaging around the forest there, and I think at this point both of us have units all over the map. He might have a couple of HGMs here and there, I have ferrets here and there. It's just a big mess. Now, there's another gazelle coming in. He's just spotting for his little friend, which is another 20mm bird. But just notice how close I'm able to get to Charlie. And also notice how many points I'm floating. So I really need to be spending more and making use of these points, because I'm simply not having enough of a presence on the battlefield. Finally, time to buy something new. Other than the CV for Bravo, of course, which will neutralize the income that he had. I'm still leading in points, 104 versus 40. Still, 260 points is way too many, so I finally decided to spend on a Rhino. Oh, sorry, I do have the ZA-35, I just didn't buy it. Ugh, okay, my bad. I should have bought that jet. Would have been that NTR would have been a far better option against those helos. And it would have been able to keep up with everything else. Of course, the Cactus can keep up with everything else, but doesn't have the missiles. Foxtrot's now his, Bravo's now mine. It's not very likely for him to be able to get into Bravo unless he's able to push me out. And this is where South Africa has a bit of a problem. Because this is where you're going to find that South Africa's staying power against a mechanized deck is a problem. So what can I do with my Rhino? Well, I can do some pouncing on his infantry. Over on Foxtrot, I've just deployed some infantry and an Oliphant Mark I. It's not really likely to do a lot of damage. It's just there to alert me that something is going to happen. Or is potentially going to happen. But I think he's just about as worried about an offensive from me as I am about an offensive from him. Bokop moving forward with just one Casper Caker in support and the Cactus, but the Cactus is getting a bit close. It's a bit too much of an investment, so let's get a couple more Bokop in the Rattle 20s and try and purify that town, just completely clear it out. Alright, alrighty, go make yourself useful. Rhino, get a couple of shots off and then link up with the FOB. In the middle we still have some Casper K-Car and the Parabat. I was wondering what he had. Is there anti-air, anti-tank, or is there infantry? But yes, there is a tank. Tornado GR1 comes in. Cactus gets the shot. Does it? Gets the missile away though. And it gets the kill. That's a Tornado GR1. And the Tornado GR1 got stunned by the SASF. So now it is time to help the SASF out, because they just helped me out. Roycat's trying to rush forward. And maybe my artillery can do something against the Fusiliers that are closing in on the Casper K-Car. I know that the SASF are faster than the Fusilier 90. I just don't know how much faster. Well, no, sorry. Fusiliers I think are 20 and these guys do 30. So I'm 50% faster, but I'm moving deeper and deeper into his area. Still, I'm trying to probe as much as possible to figure out what goes where. At this point, a bunch of Warrior Milans engaging my Roycats. I think these things have about the same price. I don't use the Warrior Milan often because the Milan's an awful missile. And the Roycats are able to deal damage against these warriors and take them both out. Also with assistance from the Milan team in the building. So, let's just have the SASF continue their, well, let's say force reconnaissance. And get some more reconnaissance in on the left, because I have nothing. He is moving around his CV and Alpha, and that's a stolen cargo truck of mine. There's the Fusiliers. Time to move the SASF, but still, I have very little hope for these guys to survive for an extended period of time. Simply because it's going to be really difficult to keep them out of trouble. Hit the building over there with anti-tank, with artillery, because there are anti-tanks, and one Milan does hit the target, and another Roycat dies. I tried to get the Roycats to help out the SASF, but it's too deep within enemy territory now, and the Roycat cannot get there. couple more Casper K-Cars have been offloaded. Sorry, Casper Mark II's offloaded with more Parabat. Because I'm expecting an offensive on my 2-pointer. It's just going to be a question of how long is it going to take. Now he knows that the SASF are in there, so he's prematurely moving his CV. And trying to keep his CV safe. So, considering he's probably not moving it forward, he should be moving it back. That's where I should be focusing my efforts. If I can find it with the SASF, I can hit it with the artillery. That's the plan. Of course, in the meanwhile, the fight for my 2-pointer continues. I thought that was the CV, but no joy. There's another helicopter, and now my SASF have no further stingers. I have a Vector R5, I have a 3 Appalachian, that's it. And as you can see, the Rattle 20s are now no longer getting engaged by the building that used to have HGMs in them. Because of the effective fire from the Rhino. Another Roycat 105 ready to link up, and there's the CV! Hello. Where are you going? More Fusiliers, this is the Fusilier group that came back. I'm trying to get the infantry dropped off, and the Fusiliers do immediately wipe out one of my Rattles, so pulling the Rattle back, suppressing the Fusiliers, and trying to get my Bokop into a better position. At this point, the SASF are duly lost, because there is no way that I'm able to save these guys, not when there's a quad stack of infantry or vehicles coming at them. SASF and Casper K-Car are now going to have a different task, because I just lost full control over Bravo, so there's a CV in there. Considering how much I can see of this sector, there are an awful lot of positions that it could be in. So let's see if the Bokop, in assistance, or with assistance from the Rattle and the Casper, are able to find it. Because there really aren't that many spots, and that might very well be the transport at FV432. Wipe that out. Fusiliers wipe out both of my vehicles. So yeah, we're quite even. As he is in control of, or well, he was controlling, countercapping Bravo, he had a +1, no, I had a +1 going. And as he's no longer in control of Bravo, I have a +2. Look at how much damage the Rhino did there, by the way. That's one shot from the Rhino, that's another, and that wiped out almost all the Fusiliers. So, keep pushing where you can. At this point, though, he's starting to intercept my units with units that I'm really not very good against. Lynxes and Rover Wombats. It's like he's using South Africa's playbook against it. And it's working. Casper K-Car against Rover Wombat. The Casper K-Car wins, but the Rover gets a shot off, and the Casper K-Car dies. SASF trying to deal with the Lynx, but there's not just the one of them, there's 2 of them. And between the 2 of them, they're able to wipe them out. So now I'm finally getting my Roycat ZA35 in there. Finally starting to deal damage against these guys, or at least that's the plan. Still no action on Foxtrot. Foxtrot, for the moment, quiet enough. For the moment. Cactus SAHV now trying to move into a better position to try and deal damage. And there's the HQ section. That's the infantry we were looking for. I can see them, but I'm not sure I can kill them. At least not with the units that I have there. So it's going to be down to the artillery to do that. The Casper Mark II's over there, stacked with Inflict. I was trying to use those guys to start pushing a bit more on Alpha. At this point, he's in control again of his... he's in control of Alpha, not Delta. He's in control of Alpha and he's countercapping Bravo. His CV has returned. The other CV might have been killed or walked back into the sector, I'm not sure. And this is when I really run into trouble against a couple of Chieftain Mark X. I don't have anything out there that can kill them. The Bokop simply cannot do that. They're not equipped to deal with a tank that big. So let's get the Bokop forward. Again, trying to get the building over there. And I should be spending more on HGM capable weaponry to deal with those tanks. There's another Rover Wombat. And the Rover Wombat, of course, has no problems dealing with the Casper K-Car. With the Casper Mark II. So they all die. Bit of anti-air there. And the Pathfinders are able to engage the anti-air, but not able to find the CV. So let's just kind of guesstimate it and hit it with HE to D. If it does some damage, lovely. If not, don't worry about it. Rover Wombats and Chieftain Mark X and Warrior Milan coming in. I have Inflict, I have Bokop, I have a triple stack of Roycat 105s. I'm not really happy about these odds. I'm not really enthusiastic about my opportunity of dealing damage to these guys. So it's quite tense here. The Rover Wombats should be taken out by the Roycat 105s. But there is a tank, or potentially multiple at this point, because I lost track of one. Yep, there's two of them. I don't want to take those out. I want to take out the Rover Wombats, so my Bokop might be able to move up. And I'm trying to get more Rattle 20 Milans in there, so Milan infantry. Now this is where I make a big mistake. I'm trying to keep the Roycats as stationary vehicles against a chieftain. In fact, against two chieftains. Not a good idea, because a chieftain is going to maintain its armor, and a Roycat is going to maintain that it doesn't have any armor. The closer I get, the more able I will be to deal with his armor. The closer he gets, well, it's not really going to do him any favors, because I don't have any armor to begin with anyway. So I should have had the Roycats push in and be aggressive against the tanks. I'm still very much trying to do that, still trying much to pick that up or have them flank, but in this case there was no flanking. There was just no opportunity to do so. Right now I'm trying to kill a Pinsgauer, yeah, don't laugh, with a bunch of Milans, and even those miss. The Bokop and the Rattle 20 Milan now dealing with another vehicle. But at this point, the Bokop, fortunately for them, are on the move, and a mortar or two are shooting back at them. So I am potentially in a lot of trouble here. I need to get the Bokop to a better building, and I need to get rid of these green jackets, but I don't exactly have fire support beyond the artillery. I'm going to need more fire support. Let's see if the Inflictor are able to help out, although from that angle I kind of doubt it. So let's just get overwhelming fire in there from the Bokop and the Parabat, and just take the building. The Milan still dealing with the Chieftain Mark X, unsuccessfully so. So let's get the Bokop into a building, let's get the Parabat into a building, and let's please have a Milan missile hit some target. That'd be lovely. But no joy. No hits, nothing. So maybe the Parabat are going to be the ones to do that. Or maybe I can deal some damage with another cluster bomber. Problem is always with cluster bombers, you're going to guesstimate where the target's going to be, and if you then get stunned by a bunch of tracked rapier FSAs, you're going to be in trouble. And I lose both my cluster bombers. That's a bad play. The Cheetah D is still in there. Is likely to get engaged by the tornado, but it does make it out alive. More Fusiliers in the middle, but there's just a few of them. I'm not too concerned. Now at this point I have another quad stack of Roycats. I have 3 Rattle ZT3A1s, that's the South African HGM vehicle. So I'm really hoping that I can get some stuff done against those chieftains. But the amount of shit I have to invest in order to make those units go away, to kill off the tanks, it's a lot. And I don't like it. At this point, Parabat versus Challenger Mark I. No thank you. That's not a good fight. The Parabat don't exactly have the rate of fire, but the SASF do, with their Appalachians. So it's going to be up to them to deal with these tanks. And ideally quickly. Parabat still moving forward. The Bokop interestingly haven't come under fire. I thought they'd be mortared out of the building, but no. We should be fine. Some counterfire is coming down on the Rhino though. It's time to pack my shit up and leave. SASF against a Challenger. Very quickly deal with it. It's 1 shot, 2 shot. That's a Challenger dead. That's about 105 points, I think. Now I might be able to use the Casper K-Cars to deal damage. Sadly, my Rhino is not very capable of dealing with Fusiliers as it's panicked. And I don't have any fire support. They do. And that Challenger's reversing away from my SASF and dealing with my Bokop at the same time. Not a great idea. So, let's see if I can get the Bokop back. Let's see if I can deal some damage with the Roycats and the ZT3A1s. And maybe have my Parabats do some flanking or do some kind of damage. Speaking of flanking, I wasn't doing nearly enough flanking in this match. Not nearly enough. And it's starting to cost me. Because at this point, the enemy is at 130 points and I'm at 173. He needs to keep this up for 10 minutes and he'll win. And he has another evil plan coming up. He's trying to capture or negate my 2-pointer, which would put him at a +3. So I need to start saving my SASF, push my own CV into his 2-pointer, and it's on the way there in the Rattle 60, and negate that +1 and potentially turn that into a +3, or at least force him to react to me. Ferret Mark II 106s could also prove useful in dealing side shots to that command tank. Of course, frontal shots are going to deal damage, just not as much. And without any good reconnaissance, I'm going to have to be quite careful, or I'll just lose all of those units, which would be bad form. At this point, the Rhino back into the action, ready to fire again with accuracy, going off against the Fusiliers. At this point, I'm starting to see that either he's not using as many Fusiliers, or he doesn't have as many left. Whatever it is, there aren't that many Fusiliers around, and that's really interesting. What I've also not seen on the left is anti-air, except for that one Javelin infantry. So, with a sniper team forward, I dare to call in the Royvalk. Fusiliers and SASF squaring it off, so he knows not to push with tanks, but there's another target, and that's another Challenger dead. Sadly, the distance to the command tank is a bit too much. So, time to use South Africa's strength again, or at least as much as I can, and hit and run. Just hit and run. In the meanwhile, all of my ATGM vehicles are getting murdered by simply probably one HGM infantry, because I was paying to the fight in the forest. Again, bad form, and I lost a lot more units than I really should have. SASF here with backup from their Casper K cars, dealing with a bunch of Fusiliers. And I know there are more Fusiliers there because all of my Rover Wombats have just died. My final Rattle CT3A1 also dies, Casper K cars are getting murdered. Parabot trying to move onto the town. But, in at least some good news, I have a +1. I have my CV into his 2-pointer. But it's a mess of a game, and I'm really playing quite poorly. 7 minutes left, a little under 8. I have 199 points, he has 141. So there is still quite a lot of opportunity for me to get a much higher score in the next 7.5 minutes. This is when more Challenger 1 Mark I arrive. And this is not exactly what I want to see. So SASF pull back, trying to keep them alive, get them resupplied, and make sure they're ready to engage those Challenger 1 Mark Is and the Chieftain command tank. Because I'm not exactly quite happy to see those, and I call in more SASF to deal with them. At this point, the Roy Cat's going on the offensive because I want to find that CV and mop it up. But even with pushing in, I still lose 2 of my Roy Cats. So that tank definitely made its value. Royvalk pushing forward, quite dangerous because I don't know the anti-air situation and my Roycats are just going for it, just gunning it. But of course there's... Yeah, there's the Javelin. That's what I missed during the gameplay because at some point I was going, where did my Royvalk go? Well, let's just say it landed, just not quite as I'd hoped. So let's fire 50 cal at those infantry, the recon infantry and the anti-air infantry and murder them. It is, however, a bit late. Plane shows up, not particularly dangerous. He's now the +1 because he's still countering my +1. Rattle 20s against 3 Lynx AH7 20mm. Problematic. Problematic. I have the Parabot now very deep into his 2-pointer, but that's not where the CV is. That is, however, going to give me line of sight to his FOB and his artillery. The Rattle's still squaring off against all of the helicopters there. I think we're going down a fairly even fight. I'm losing units, he's losing units. More importantly though, for him, he's been successful in dealing with my Roycat 105s. So I lost even more Roycats over there. I think I've lost all of my Roycats at this point. I might have some survivors here and there, but I believe I've spent all of them. More Fusiliers scouting out ahead. And once again, my CV was able to go into alpha for a bit. So I was able to countercap it. But now there is a command tank in my +2. So now he's ticking. I'm on 240, he's on 154. It's time to push the SASF in again. And he just wiped out my pair of Pathfinders, which I was planning on using in order to deal with his infantry over there, all the Fusiliers. It's not really going down that well. Trying to use the Cheetah to stun some infantry, trying to get the Buccaneer to kill something, but there's nothing out there that I can see. It's going to be down to the infantry to start mopping up all of these tanks. So the SASF push in, that's one tank down. Keep pushing through that forest. There's another Challenger 1-1, it also dies quickly. No, sorry, it's still reversing there. Come on. Get the kill. I know it's tough frontal armor, there you go. Knocks Challenger. Moving up. Moving up. I cannot have this. He's now at a +3 because he killed my CV. There's the Chieftain. Kill it. Got it. Okay, he's back at a +1. 171 versus 246. This is starting to look really uncomfortable, and I still haven't found his CV in my Foxtrot. No, Bravo, all the way on the left anyway. The Rattle 20 is moving up. I should have pushed a lot harder on Bravo, because I've lost so many units just trying to defend it. Now, it is charge of the APCs. Lots and lots and lots of APCs, so while he's managing that, I'm going to push into his side with a couple of Rattle 20s. Arguably, I should have done that flanking maneuver a lot sooner and a lot more effectively, because it's just not working out that well. Sending out the Cedar Craft and a Canberra, because I'm kind of out of ideas, and I'm hoping that my Cedar Craft can keep those NTR units busy while my Canberra moves in. The Tracked Rapier FSA is active, but it is not radar guided. And because of that, of course, the Cedar Craft can't take it down. Fortunately, the Canberra is so tough that it cannot easily get taken down itself, and I do mop up a lot of infantry with that bombing run. SASF are going to have to deal with the Warrior Milans. It's not great, but, well, we're going to have to deal some damage. However, I'm out of Appelas. I don't have any further weapons. So my infantry down there in the middle is going to have to just gun it. They're going to have to run the hell away, because I don't have any other options. So, once again, move forward as quickly as possible with more of my recoilless rifle trucks. This time with backup. I still have my ZA-35, which I completely forgot about. Triple stack of Warrior Milans mopping up the SASF, which are completely defenseless. They don't have an anti-tank weapon. So yeah, of course the Warrior Milans push forward. It is well within his rights to do so. We're now on 199 versus 248. I have to find that CV in Bravo. One way or another is going to have to get done. More infantry coming up, more ferrets standing by. There's another sniper team engaging the Warrior Milans, which are mopping up my ferrets far too effectively for my taste. There you go, that's just 2 ferrets down, and against autocannons, I'm going to be in trouble. Fusiliers coming in. Lovely. That's going to be the kill of my Rattle 60. That's going to be the death of them. Time to offload the Rattle 20s, get the Bok Ops to move out and start moving forward on their own power, while the Rattles ideally give them some form of backup. Now, I'm trying to get these guys to form a wide line, trying to get as much coverage of that sector as possible, because this +1 needs to stop. He's on 213, I'm on 248. It's getting awful, awful close. I have more SASF coming into Delta, but it's going to get really quite tight. And I'm not sure if I can easily get there. Rattle 20 is coming under fire from the Warrior Milans. I know that they have 12 missiles. It's 4 missile a vehicle. And now his CV's on the move. I'm trying to ambush the Warrior Milans with the Rattle 20s over there, but he knows they're there. So, as these warriors are heavily armored on the front, all the Rattles can do is either close in or die. So I opt for the first part and try to close in. Try to get more units in, and hey, another Chieftain Mark 1. Oh, sorry, Chieftain Command Tank. I have 1 SASF operator with a couple of anti-tank weapons. Let's see if it's enough. Let's see if this guy can make something happen. There is the tank, and, well, he gets the shot in, he gets the damage in, he doesn't get the kill. I already have a Roy Volk and an XAH-1 standing by. I just need to get a spot on that command tank before he turns it into another +3. We're now 231 for 248 with 14 seconds left on the clock. And I still haven't found the CV in Bravo. Of course, that command tank is going to just arrive. Delta, 4 seconds left. 236 for 248. He's on a +3, 239, and it stops. Time's up. I lost a few more points than I gained. Newt played really well there, and he managed to push it into a draw. Doesn't happen very often, but this was a hell of a match. I should have flanked a lot more than I did. I shouldn't have played as badly as I did, but it gave me a heck of a game, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you want to use the deck, down below in the description there's the deck code. Copy that, import it, and you can play with it yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like, and otherwise, thank you for watching. I hope to see you on the next one.